Well, hello, everybody. Happy Saturday, and welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa, where we just have fun on Saturdays. It's date day with Brock today, Brock and Ara, and afterwards we have a date with Jerry Mozinski as well. So just been fun this weekend. There I disappeared again, and now I see I'm back. Wonderful to see you all in the chat. And Lisa D, while I can see you there, I'm not sure if you and Jojo Waken have had a discussion about the book, Leo Zagami's book. So yeah, maybe you two can just connect on that while I see you both there. Anyway, so we have Brock with us from Nesara 17, and guess what? We've seen his face today. We are. And we're going to be talking about DUMBS, Deep Underground Military Bases, which I'm really happy to be getting some nice intel on, and Brock is always a wealth of information. So, ladies and gents, without any further ado, ta-da.
Hello.
Hello, Brock.
Hey, good to be with you.
Good to see you. Yeah, it's been what, a few months, and I know I've definitely wanted to have you on sooner than now. But geez, it's been crazy. I've been traveling, running up and down, and Grandma's just been Grandma. Yeah, what can I say? But I'm very happy to have you back and to see your face, and so that everyone can see your face, Brock. I'm sure the viewers are happy. How are you doing?
Good. I'm very happy that it's Saturday because I usually don't have to work weekends, so it's nice not to have to worry about work.
Yeah, it is nice not to worry about work, but we have fun here. So this is not work. This is just fun. We have cool times here, and everybody enjoys you. Anyway. Yeah. So, Brock, we are talking about. Well, actually, before the DUMBS, I mean, is there anything you would like to maybe just share with us? Actually, where can people get hold of you? What are you up to? Stuff like that.
Yeah. So I have my channel's called Nesara 17. I do have a YouTube. I'm gonna try, and since we have Trump back in office, I am hoping that I don't get shadow banned or get videos taken down, which has happened in the past. But everything I do is always put on Rumble. Rumble's been very good to me. I have a Telegram channel, so does Chantelle, and we use that Telegram because people can have chat discussions in the group and go back and forth. And in my experience, there's been like zero censorship. So I know some people are apprehensive to that, but the reason we use it is there's zero censorship. So YouTube has the biggest audience, and then maybe Rumble is second or whatever. But if you're hesitant to go on Rumble, I understand, but just keep in mind for truthers such as Chantelle and myself and many others, the monetization is not there in my experience with Rumble, but they have given me zero issue with censorship, and in my opinion, they've been very, very good about letting free speech happen. So
yeah,
yeah.
Rumble's pretty good, I must say, and we're actually streaming live onto Rumble now at the moment as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so everyone can catch us on Rumble nowadays as well. A lot of our shows we do on Rumble now, that we can live stream onto Rumble rather than Twitter. We kind of like go between Rumble and Twitter, but I think Rumble is definitely a better option, especially, it always has been actually. I mean, every time any of our shows have been struck, we always put them onto Rumble, and they find it. So yeah. Well, okay, so yeah, you are on.
Sorry, I just want to say quickly, my X account is still banned for Nesara 17. I don't know how to get it unbanned, but if you see the unfortunate thing, anything to do with Nesara or QFS, Quantum Financial System, you guys probably all know this, but there's tons and tons of scammers out there. Chantelle is very honorable. I am too. We don't deal with any scammers or anything like that. So just be very vigilant, because now the Trump administration is bringing in cryptos and everything. These scammers are going to go through the roof. So be careful about that, everybody.
Yeah,
You know, if
they
you're going to get
love.
into crypto, go ahead, Chantelle.
No, sorry, I'm sorry to intervene. I just wanted to say, while you were on the talking about the Telegram channel, really, they in there, boy. They're in there every day. You've got to take those guys out. There are big scams going on at the moment, and especially on Telegram. I've had a clone on Telegram since 2022, and I just managed to unclone that clone, and they were wreaking havoc on my personal Telegram account, also with these cryptos and things like that. So we must be careful. I agree. Be vigilant with that.
Yeah, I nuked a couple people on your group chat for doing crypto scams, in my opinion. So I just ban them right away.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
It's the
play
only way to
around.
do it.
But I wanted to remind everyone of that, because the United States, what happened is basically the Fed, the Federal Reserve, which is they print the paper money. What they're going to do is they're going to take that and put it underneath the United States Treasury. So it's going to kind of absorb it, and then the federal government will have better management of the printing of the money, and etc. So what the plan is, and I'm just giving everybody a 30,000-foot view. If you have any questions, just dump them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. They're going to do a couple things, and it's important to talk about this since we're on the subject. But the first thing, they're going to start staking crypto. So that means that they're going to take maybe Ripple, or there's other ones. What did he mention? Solana, Cardano. I think he mentioned 3 or 4, but a lot of them are in. I reshared this on my channel, and I'll send it to Chantelle. But there's a web diagram of all the cryptos and the main ones and what their specialty will be. Bitcoin is highest right now, but from what I've heard, probably the federal government is not going to stake or hold Bitcoins, they're probably going to go more for Ripple and other coins that have a quicker transition and a quicker transaction time. Because to transfer with Bitcoin right now, since it's so big, it takes forever. So the federal government's going to start holding these, okay? And then, as we expect, the value is going to probably rise. So people like myself and other truthers and so forth have been holding them for a while. Maybe if it goes up to a certain level, we'll be able to turn the coins in, the digital coins. And then, of course, there's also talk, which is sort of related to that. There's also talk about going to a precious metal standard like we used to have, 50, 60 years ago. So that would mean that the precious metals would go up as well. I talked about that last night with another guest, but that's what we have our eyes on, because my channel is called Nesara 17. Nesara was a law proposed, I think, back in the late 90s, when the federal government basically loaned farmers money, and then they set the price of the crops, and the farmers lost tons of money and were not able to pay their loans back. So they were going to seize all of their very expensive farm equipment, like the hay bundlers, the gigantic tractors, the tillers, and the special one for grain. I forget what it's called, but there's a gigantic one that does all the grain, like the
Harvester,
wheat.
isn't that a harvester? A
Yeah,
combine,
maybe
what?
it's a harvester. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the law was introduced, the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. Okay. So basically what it's saying is, we don't want, the old term in '08 was predatory lending loans too big for somebody with certain number income to pay back. But that principle of, we'll call it predatory banking, was needed to be dealt with. Inflation was needed to be dealt with, and several other things, taxation. So all that's related, and President Trump and his cabinet is going to work on reforming that and making it better.
Well, I think that is high time. In terms of crypto and stuff, I mean, I personally like the metals. I'm a metally kind of girl. I'm not going into crypto. I got bitten once. I'm not once bitten, twice shy. And but I'm wondering about Bitcoin, man. Isn't Bitcoin a bit dodgy? Come now, Brock.
Yeah, well, we've heard rumors that intelligence agencies had started that to do shady things, you know, in
Yeah.
I'm trying to tiptoe, but to do things that were not traceable with dollars, okay?
Yes,
And I'm
absolutely.
trying to work with the terminology here. So I heard, you know, because they say this guy Satoshi something, I can't remember, but they say that guy invented Bitcoin, but yeah, it is super suspect in my opinion that that fictitious character actually invented Bitcoin. So when you say it's dodgy, I tend to agree with you. And I think eventually, and people may not like this, but I think eventually it's going to go away and be surpassed with superior um, and faster transactional coins such as Ripple and other coins. So I basically agree with you, but I don't think it's going to be overnight when the switch
Okay,
happens.
so I understand that things can be transformed. So I'm hoping that, you know, we can really just use, because one thing we know about the dodgy ones is that they're very, very good at putting up fantastic systems that are super slick and work very well. So what we really want to do is keep those systems, or as much as what we can, and just kind of like reverse the process, right? So we use it with a different intention. Intention is everything, you know. I mean, I can walk out of the gate now with the knife in my hand with the intention of cutting a vegetable off my bush for dinner, or to kill someone, right? So we can really think about its intention. And I think really, we really just have to look at ways that we can use what's already there and use it with a different consciousness, as well as a different intelligence and different energy, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I believe, and this is based off of testimony of people that work in the military, etc. I believe that the Bitcoin, they thought that they could get away. I'm talking about the evil people thought they could get away with using it to circumvent actual currency like United States dollars, whatever. But I believe that they found a way to reverse trace it back. In other words, to catch the people doing the dodgy stuff. So I
Right.
believe the good guys reverse traced it backwards to find out where the money was going, what it was being used for, etc. So their plan eventually backfired.
Wow.
And that's based off of, you know,
I think it
testimony.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And, you know, I think really right now it's still very much the early phases of change happening. Everyone is still up in arms. You know, energy is flying in every direction. And we know that that's kind of the loosh that they want, is the chaos, because these are the creators of chaos. And we know that the realm of chaos rules supreme. And as long as there's chaos, that's their food. So we just really have to, you know, in yoga, we call it equanimity. You've got to be comfortable in an uncomfortable place. So you stand strong in an
Makes sense.
uncomfortable place. You don't allow yourself to be swayed either way, you know. You work with what you know is good and pure and true and right. And that's
Yep.
really what we've got to be. And discernment, you know, discernment is such a big one right now. Sure,
Oh,
there's so
huge.
much. Yeah, there's so much BS out there. I mean, like really. And you know, the stuff that's coming up, right? The information. I mean, in fact, I want to just say on my show with Jesse on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about Nelson Mandela again. And of course, we know Nelson Mandela was not the true Nelson Mandela that came out of prison. But now we're kind of seeing who it was. It was a Zimbabwean man. His name is Gibson. Oh, I don't remember his surname now. that played the role of Nelson Mandela. And in fact, there's even newspaper like footage of way back then when this country was up in arms because of Nelson Mandela's death. And now we talk about the Mandela effect. Makes such
Exactly.
perfect sense, right? When you go
Well,
back and you,
that's because time travel is being used.
right, exactly. And then this guy, Gibson, whatever his name was, and I mean, even Winnie, Nelson's wife, said, I mean, she divorced Nelson, when he came out of prison in 1989, right? She divorced him because she says, this is not my husband. No, it's not my husband. I can just imagine Winnie, right? She was a firebrand of note. So she
Oh,
divorced
yes.
him. He couldn't even speak Xhosa. But I mean, anyway, I digress now. I'm just kind of like saying that's
Well,
what
no,
was going on.
no, this is good. Everything is tying in because you spoke about the energy, and I feel like a conflicting energy, like a weird energy. On one hand, I feel like we have so much potential for positivity, and on the other hand, I feel like the negative people sometimes are, you know, not winning, but they're winning small battles. Okay, the positive's going to win the war. But I look at it and I look at one thing in my life and I say, oh my God, this is so bad. And I look at another thing and I say, wow, like, I don't know, let's say with my daughter, she just did something that's totally surprised me and surpassed me. And I never would have expected that, and it was positive. And on the other hand, something bad may happen. So you're saying the energies are conflicting, and what you're saying is stand strong in your belief, stand strong in your principles, your morals. We're all failed as far as achieving a perfect goal. None of us are perfect, but we strive towards it. We strive towards, as a Christian, the example of Jesus, to be as loving as possible, and forgive, etc. I fall short, everyone falls short, but we strive for that. And if everyone was doing that, the world would be a totally different place. So I feel
Absolutely.
like the energy is conflicting as well. You know what I mean? So that totally ties in.
Yeah, absolutely. And so much exposure, there really is so much exposure going on right now. And again, that's where we've got to be so discerning. What is true? What's not true? You know, um, what do we believe? What don't we believe? And this is where I always say we have to be spiritually in tune and aligned, because unless we are really aligned with God, you're not going to know the truth. You're not. It's going to be a slippery edge and you're going to be in and out of it all the time. You're not going to know which road to take. But it's very interesting times. I'm just loving, I'm just here living my life like it's golden, right? And I wish all you Americanos could come here and live your lives like it's golden here too. So,
Yeah,
but
you do great. I will say you do great with keeping a positive attitude amongst non-positive things or negative things happening. So I really got to give you credit for that.
thank you. I appreciate that. It is, for me, what's really important is these kind of disclosures they have to happen. And I can't tell you how many times I've sat on this channel and I've cried listening to information. I've had to literally walk away from here, go and dive in the sea. I've literally had to go to walk in the forest just to process what I'm hearing. But then I'll come back and it kind of makes sense, And then it's also so important that we maintain balance in our lives, because we talk about our vibration all the time. It's so important that, especially when we are looking at this absolutely shocking time that we're living in and all the stuff that is occurring in our lives, it's so easy to be drawn into that negative space and
Hmm.
feel miserable because the world is such a miserable place right now. That's exactly what they want from us, right? But
Yes.
we have to still look at the good things in life. We still have to love our families, love our children, treat them even that much more special, do that much more cool things with them, love them that much more, appreciate them that much more,
Hmm.
you do the things that make life sweet. We have to do things that make life sweet as well. Otherwise, we're in the doldrums. And for me, it's all about that, understanding that you can be a light for someone if you choose to be.
Right.
You know, they will find where the light is, not where the dark, howling and crying and, oh my Goding is. People aren't drawn to that. They're drawn to people who have a positive demeanor, who they feel can be a light in a dark time. And that, for
Yep.
me, is what's so important, is that we can find that. But anyway, again,
No,
I
I agree.
digress.
I agree. Yeah, some people in my family were evangelists, for the Christian faith, and I feel like you'll have a better time getting somebody to listen to your message. Let's Converting is on an individual basis, right? If they accept Jesus or whatever. So that's individually. If they're going to do it, who knows, right? Only God knows. But they're not even going to listen to you unless you come at them with respect, understanding. Some people, they just want someone to talk to and to hear them out, and
Exactly.
just listen. Don't say anything, and if you don't come to them in that manner like you're describing, they're not even going to listen to what you have to say. They'll turn you off right away.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why we're here.
Hmm. Well, we are
Yeah.
we are definitely in disclosure, and
Yes.
I will say a quick comment, and you jump in anytime. Don't worry about interrupting me. So we have the overall picture. And me, I've been a truther for over 10 years, but I also have a unique family background where some family members work for intelligence agencies, other works for the military. I contracted for defense companies and worked on weapons and high technology stuff. So I have my family wide background, anywhere from political to a Christian evangelist. All this, it makes the package. So I promised myself and I made a promise to God that I would, eventually start talking about this. So here I am. I'm going to be as honest as I can. And also, going back to our earlier statements, there's a lot of people that want clicks or want just anywhere from making up intel to somebody feeding them something and them not vetting it, to anywhere in between. So you and I don't do that, and that's why we get along. But I will. If I'm speculating, I'm going to do my best to tell you it's speculation. If it's fact, I'll tell you I believe this is fact. So that's how we're getting into this.
No, I appreciate that very much. I really do. And we've been hearing, since this channel began, which is now 4.5 years, we've been hearing a lot about the DUMBS. That was one of the first things, I must say, that started coming out. Deep underground military bases, right? So, I mean, I don't think anyone on this channel needs an introduction to what that is, but you can give it to them anyway. And yeah, tell us what you know about this, because we've got quite a few pics here, and there's some gruesome ones as well, which I definitely won't be showing, that go
Right.
right underneath the surfaces of underneath our feet. I mean, it's appalling. Anyway, cool. So I'm going to hand over to you, and you're going to tell me what you want me to put up here.
Yeah, let's start with the Japanese caves and tunnels first, and from World War II, and then we'll progress from there. But
Okay.
let's start. I'll give a little tiny bit of background info. So based on my perspective, which is, like I said, a Christian perspective, I believe the Noah's flood was real, an actual event, and I also believe that very tall humans, giants, whatever, Nephilims are real and existed. So the very first tunnel or cave system tunnels that we have are actually in Turkey. It's in central Turkey. I don't remember the name of the town, but it's a network like a labyrinth. It spreads everywhere. And it's my opinion that the entrances to those were small on purpose because what we found with historical evidence, and the Bible talks about this too, the very tall humans were, a lot of them were also cannibals, and so the people needed a place to hide. You'll find caves with smaller entrances way up on a cliff in the Grand Canyon area that nobody really talks about, and the entrance is smaller on purpose, and it's my opinion because the normal size humans like myself, Chantelle, let's say average man around 6 foot, woman 5'5", whatever, could go into the cave and hide from, very tall people that also were cannibals. So going back to Turkey and some sites in the Grand Canyon, the entrances are small, so we can get in there, and the enemy, the cannibalistic enemies, could not get in there to get to us. So the very first tunneling in
Wow.
caves was done for that purpose, to hide from them. And the
So
ones in
in
Turkey,
Turkey,
yeah,
are you saying that the first tunnels that were dug, or I don't know how they were made, they must have been
chiseled,
made.
dug.
Yeah, I was going to say they must have been made with something quite exceptional to be able to take them to where they are today. But are you saying that is in Turkey? So the original DUMBS are in Turkey?
Correct.
Wow.
Because the ark landed in the mountains of Ararat, which is on the border of Turkey and Armenia today, right on the border. The actual ark landed there, and we have very old wood samples that were taken from there. You guys can look up somebody called Ron Wyatt, who's already went to heaven probably 20 years ago now. But when I was a kid, I used to watch all of his stuff, and he did a lot of major biblical archaeology, basically. So look up his one on the ark, and the ark, I think it's the real one, landed in the mountains of Ararat, Turkey Armenia border, and we have a lot of evidence of ancient stone sites and so forth. So the right after the flood wiped out chimeras, animal human hybrids, monsters, genetic creations, and very like super tall, 100-foot tall giants. Then after the flood, they were much shorter. I believe that's due to one of Noah's wives being part Nephilim and the genetics being watered down, and that's why they were shorter after the biblical flood.
So
So
when you say shorter, they then were like, what,
15 to
7, 8,
30 feet.
15 to 30. 100 feet is like 30 meters tall. I mean, that is 33 meters tall,
Yeah,
actually.
that was pre-flood.
That is a huge creature.
Right.
I mean, that is huge.
Hmm.
So were they like shaped like humans, legs and arms, or
Sort
were
of.
they?
Yeah, they were humanoid, but like even archaeologists now call the ancient megalithic sites with the gigantic stones that are like 50 tons, they call them cyclopean, the one-eyed, monster. So they looked like humans, but not exactly like how we do.
Wow. So then the floods occurred, and then obviously Noah and his wife were procreating, and then they gave birth to smaller giants.
No, Noah was a pureblood.
But
Noah's
the wife
son,
wasn't.
I think it was Shem. It was Shem, Ham, and
Oh,
Japheth. I think it was Shem. I have to restudy this. But right before the flood happened, Methuselah died, and then let's say it was Shem. Shem took a wife. His wife had Nephilim DNA. So if you trace
right,
the giants that are listed in the Bible, they all came from that lineage all the way
right.
down. Now, even today, some of us, maybe me, and probably me, I can say that another time, have watered down Nephilim blood. That's why Jesus says your spirit has to get born again, okay, to connect with him. That's what he means. And so a lot of people don't like
Right.
that, but we don't believe in any sort of racism or anything like that. And Chantal, I know, is on the same page. So it's not about race. I'm just explaining genealogy, okay? anybody is welcome to the kingdom of God. Anybody. Does not matter what you look like, what your ancestry is. I'm just explaining the genealogy, so please don't get caught up on that. So that
Right.
line is where all the Nephilim came from, and the reason why they were shorter after the flood is because their DNA was watered down.
Right. But still the traces remained within, obviously, all the descendants. So there
Yes,
would be traces of that Nephilim blood
correct.
kind of spread out. Yeah, makes
Yep.
sense what you're saying.
So
Makes
even
sense what
I
you're
have
saying.
some trace of it.
Okay, so I definitely don't. Definitely not. I'm kidding.
But you
I'm
know what?
kidding.
It
I'm
doesn't
kidding.
matter because we're both going to see each other one day in the kingdom of heaven. So it's a wash. This flesh
Exactly.
is going to go away one day, right?
Totally. Totally. We're having a beautiful human experience, and you can either choose to see yourself as the cancer of the world. I hear so many people refer to humans as the cancer of the world, and I'm not saying that that is not true, because some humans certainly do behave like
Like
very
animals.
animals don't behave like that. My goodness. Please, let's not insult our furry friends. They are very civilized compared to what a lot of us can get up to. But you know what I mean? And yet there are others that are, the humans, they're very amazing humans as well. So we just got to decide to be happy and enjoy the
Hmm.
human experience and see the goodness of every day. And then the more we focus on that, it's like these things get less power. The less power and energy we give them, the more they're going to wither away. That's the way
Yep,
I see it.
I
Anyway,
agree.
cool. So you're saying then that the smaller tunnels. Oh, so okay. When were these tunnels made then? When you're looking at the first ones in Turkey, so were they then still built? Was that after the flood, post flood?
Yes. Yes, that was after the flood. I don't know when did the flood happen? 4,500 years, I think. So, yeah. So, to Jesus is 2000 and then maybe another 25. I can't remember. But let's say that the original ones are like around 4,000 years old.
Right. Okay. So hmm, that's pre-flood.
Oh, well, I might have my time frame wrong, but right whenever the flood happened, you can look it up now, but if you want, but whenever the flood happened, it was right after that. When
Right.
because
Okay.
the
Sorry, carry on, Brock. I think we have a bit of a lag here. It's my
Yeah, we do
internet
have a
again.
lag. It's okay. So yeah, the ones in Turkey, um, when the Bible says that they had to take the promised land, pretty much you can look at all of the names, Canaanites, Jebusites, anything with ITES at the end, pretty much is some type of Nephilim. Could be a
Right.
chimera, could be a giant, whatever. But that terrain in Turkey with the way the rock is was the best place for them to carve out those original tunnels, and that's why they did it.
Wow. So made the entrances small, and obviously the rest of the tunnel itself was quite big. How
Oh,
tall
it's
are those
huge.
tunnels? How tall? How tall are we
Inside,
talking?
inside they're all probably like 7 or 8 feet inside, but they
Wow.
spread like I think almost a mile. I mean, they're huge. I can't
Yeah.
remember right, but they said it would hold thousands of people. I don't remember if it was 20,000 or whatever, but it's a huge, huge network of tunnels there in central Turkey.
So what is actually happening there now, though, with those tunnels? What are they doing there?
It's a site, you can go visit it. It's a historical site.
Okay, so is there not dodgy stuff going on in there?
The ones in Turkey, to my knowledge, no. Nope,
Okay.
you can go visit it and part of it's closed off. The ones dodgy stuff's happening are the modern day ones that were built after World War II.
Right. Okay. So yeah, okay, it makes sense. Cool. Do you want me to put these ones up so long? I've just, it
Yes,
looks
go
like a
ahead.
map here.
Yeah, so what we're looking at right now, everyone, is we're looking at the Japanese. The Germans also had tunnels and bunkers in World War II, especially near Berlin, which is obviously the capital. So because of the Allied bombing runs, they started building tunnels and underground bunkers and etc. during World War II, because World War II is really the first war where you have major bombing runs from aircraft, because World War I, they would literally just bring up like a 25-pound bomb and drop it from the plane, because the planes in World War I were very simple planes. In World War II, you start getting more advanced planes that can carry, you know 10,000 pounds, or I don't know, I don't remember what a B-17 would carry, but they could carry several bombs, right? So you had 250-pound bomb, 500-pound bombs, etc. And the bigger bombs can blow up, even if you have a regular basement and let's say it has a layer of cement over it. If you drop a 500-pound bomb on that, it's still gonna, you know, um, take out everybody inside. So if you look at the picture, they had to go deeper for two reasons: to escape the bombing runs, A, because the bombs were much bigger than World War One, so that they could wait out the bombing runs and the air attack from the Army Air Force back then. But they would also the Japan took over a lot of these little islands over in the Pacific. So one that had a more favorable um, soil and rock type for these tunnels, they would go down, and then they'd have a it's showed on the top there. Those are cannons on the top, in the very top of this picture. And the cannons would, of course, blast at our ships. But then when they would invade, they would shoot from these pillboxes with machine guns and cannons to
Um,
keep the enemy force off. And then they would have lots of troops underneath. So they'd wait until the Allied force, Americans, British, whatever, advanced into the island. And then all these guys, like 500 guys, would come out and surprise attack and just basically kill as many of the Allied forces as possible. And the goal wasn't winning. They knew that they probably were going to lose the island. The goal was to inflict as many casualties as possible. It's similar to the principle of terrorism today. Okay, they wanted to fight to the last man, and it was to them in their society back then, it was honorable to die in battle, right, with Imperial Japan. So they got really good at this. So this same principle that was proven out in World War II with Germany and Japan in particular, they built up upon that, and then eventually the evil people took over, which we'll discuss later. So we can go to the next picture. Here's what they look like. This is relatively rudimentary chiseling and so forth, and they did have dynamite back then. I think dynamite was invented in the late 1800s, and that's going into solid rock, and the arch is a natural, strong geometric shape. Okay, we can go to another one. Here is a totally handmade one. This is what they look like on those islands in the Pacific. So they're small because they takes a long time to dig through solid rock. Okay, next.
so what's the purpose of that body lying there?
Oh, that's just a mock-up.
Right.
It's just a
Okay, then.
display to show you how it was back then.
Okay, but after that I have this.
Yeah. Okay, that now this is related to the tunnels because we have studied and we have strong evidence to support that there possibly is, you know, these type of weird looking humans, humanoid creatures that live underneath the earth, and they like the darkness and they like the warmth, because as you go down it gets warmer, closer to the center, the core of the earth, which is hot. That's where magma is, for those that don't know. So this coin is a German coin. So what we believe, um, no, this isn't a German coin. I'm sorry. I got that wrong. I have another one that's a German coin. Okay, this we believe, now again, I'm going to tell you when I speculate. So when I say we believe, it's a little bit of speculation based on evidence. We believe that they made a deal, and I mean the evil people made a deal with these strange looking creatures that are more intelligent than humans to make advanced weaponry and to implement control systems over the earth. Okay, do you have
They're
another
cool.
tunnel? Go ahead.
They're lizards, Brock.
Yeah, I know.
That's a
Yeah,
lizard. It's
it
not a
is. Yep.
humanoid.
Well, it walks upright.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. I know. I've heard that. Okay, cool. I don't know. This is the next one I have.
There we go. Okay, that's the German one. So this is the
Yeah.
actual, um, I guess you'll call it a medallion. It's not really a coin, but they do make one. They make one that's like a coin as well. And obviously that's a disc. That's a flying saucer, and that is a swastika. And like I said, they used to have, this is related to the DUMBS because these creatures live underground. So that's part of the reason why the evil ones like the DUMBS and make it underground, other than to hide. So this represents that. So that represents technology. The Third Reich, under World War II, Germany had the ability to communicate. We believe they had the ability to communicate with these creatures with higher intellect, and that's where they got the first jet engine from. They had the Messerschmitt, was it the 262? I can't remember. It was the first jet airplane. They had a anti-gravity bell called the NAZI bell, and they had saucers as well. And that's where they got the technology from, their evil underworld friends. Okay, next. Okay, we can skip this one. This is what Trump and this team is working on to heal us. Okay, now here's an interesting one. You guys, there are water tunnels as well, and basically the submarines can travel. Since it's a nuclear submarine, it has pretty much an indefinite supply of power, and they can make their own oxygen, which I can't get into how they do that, but they can make it. So the only thing that they can run out of is weapons and food. So they can go, this is the entrance to that with a ship or a sub, but they have these that are totally underwater. So the sub knows the coordinates to hit to go through the underwater tunnel. And we've heard reports that they go inland to up to 200 miles from the ocean into the United States. And I'm assuming if we have it, there's other countries that have it as well. And again, I say we heard reports because I've heard several different good sources tell me this. Haven't seen them in person, but we've heard reports of that. Okay, go ahead. Okay, we can skip this one. This is our gentleman going into a underground, deep underground military base. Those are nods, aka night vision. Okay, here's a sub going in. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry.
Nope. Here's a smaller sub going into the entrance. It's blurred. You guys, I know a lot of you say, "Oh, why don't you have crisp pictures? It's 2025." You got to, I'll just say for me, some of the facilities that I've been in, you can't even take your phone in. So, and then other ones you could, but you had to put black tape over it. And even if you held your phone up at something, you were escorted out of the building immediately. They take it serious. So the fact that in my view, we'd just be happy that we have pictures of this at all. So I know you would want a perfect clear picture, but we do what we can.
No, absolutely. I appreciate that.
Okay, same thing here. This is an old German one, built during World War II. It probably at one point had the swastika on there, but that is I believe that's a German symbol up top that used to
Yeah.
be on their SS hats and so forth, officers' hats. Okay, next. Okay, now we're getting towards a modern one. So that picture over there in the upper left is showing a home that was built into the rock. I wanted to show that because that guy's just a homeowner. All he has is money, and he just picked up the phone and said, I have a great idea for a house. So if regular construction workers can do that, imagine what you can do with technology that's 50 years ahead of what we have today. So then you look at the other one over there in the upper right, and you'll see that they're putting in air conditioning systems up top into the. Now what they do is we'll go over this later, but they use the tunnel boring machine. They have advanced ones that bore so fast that they heat up the rock, and instead of having to pour cement around the inside of the tunnel, they don't need cement because the rock is so hot that it forms its own hard layer and self-supports itself for that tunnel. So then once they bore in so far, they put in a advanced weapon. We believe that it's similar to a neutron bomb. So it's like a super low radiation. It's very similar to nuclear, but it's similar technology. I don't know chemically exactly how it works, but it goes really hot, really fast, bigger than dynamite explosion, but like almost no radiation. And then when it blows up, it vaporizes rock and it creates a self-supporting sort of like a sphere structure. So they really don't need pillars in there if it's the right type of rock. So that's what we're seeing over in the upper right. And on the bottom is the entrance to there's underground highway systems. Now this I can say pretty I'm leaning this as fact, not speculation, but the semi trucks that deliver stuff or just transport things that they don't want the general public to know about go down into the highway system, and that's what it looks like when you're driving the truck down in there. The
Now,
bottom picture.
what kind of stuff would they be transporting in these trucks that they wouldn't want us to know about?
Typically high technology. Also could be gold.
Mm-hmm.
Also could be money.
What else, Brock? What else could be in there?
Humans.
What else could be? Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
I'm trying to tiptoe here.
You don't have to tiptoe on this channel. Yeah, we stomp, we dance,
Well,
we have a party.
we love your channel though. We want we want you to keep your channel.
I know my channel's cool. We cool,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
bro. We cool. But it makes a lot
Anyway.
of sense. I mean, it's really because that's obviously where, as you say, semi truck will go through there, and that is ample space for whatever technology, weaponry, gold, silver, coins, humans.
How about a genetic creations that that the American public would be totally freaked out if they saw?
What are you talking about? Genetic creations?
I'm talking about animal-human hybrids, genetic creations that have been made in the lab.
Chimeras.
Yep.
So are you sorry, carry on.
Or someone would say monsters.
So do they live there or are they transported through there?
Transported.
Where are they taking them to?
Can't say.
Can't say or won't say?
Won't say.
Okay. I can accept that. Don't say I didn't try, guys. I'm gonna try though. Because it makes sense to me. I mean, okay, hang on. If we're thinking, we know that there's a lot of underground facilities, right, where they making these things. And we know that, for example, the werewolves, they're using them a lot in warfare and to attack people and stuff like that, right?
I'll send you a video. I have an actual video of a live one that
I want to see
I'm not
that.
going to put. Yeah, I'll send it to you privately.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. But it's like, so are they gathering armies of these things? Are they? I'm sure they fight these things. I had a vision once of them putting these things up against each other, and they fighting they fight them because they want to antagonize them to get a heightened sense of aggression. So to me, it's like they're always going to do the most debased thing.
Yep.
I have
Yeah,
no
that could
comment from
be.
you.
That
I
could
have no
be.
comment. Sure. Disgusting. Okay, next. I'll let you off the hook then.
Yeah, ship going into a water-based DUM. That one's from Europe.
So now, what do you think that is? That a military ship? Is that a cargo ship?
Oh,
What
for
ship is
sure. No, it's a military ship.
it? Okay, so what are they doing? What would a ship be doing in there now?
Resupplying.
Whatever, I guess, whatever they need, right? So it's nothing specific.
I wouldn't say need, I'd say want.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to make genetic creations in a lab. You do it because you want to do it. You don't need to do it.
Sure.
Okay, you can go to the next one. All right, you may have seen this before. It's a very old map. Yes, I know that it should be updated, but this is what we're going to work with. These tunnels have been extended and increased. Now, if you look over New Mexico, you'll see Los Alamos. Los Alamos National Laboratory has many levels below. I've heard reports of that, and I've heard many reports of that, so I believe it's accurate. I've also heard that's where they have genetic engineered animals or humans.
Sure.
And this is not showing. One of the things I know that needs to be updated, if you go down to, I don't know if you can move your mouse. You see the bottom of California, right where Arizona is?
Can you see my mouse?
Not right now, no.
Okay, no,
If you,
then I can't.
that's okay, don't worry. If you look, everybody knows where California is on the left of the picture. If you go a little bit further south, there's the Sea of Cortez. And I've heard several people say, good sources, that going in through the Sea of Cortez underneath Mexico, they can go up into California. I can't remember if it's California or Arizona, but right in that area, they go up through the Sea of Cortez in an underwater tunnel and have a DUM in there, and have a base in there. So I think the bottom of Arizona is at least 50 miles to the sea. So you go straight south from Arizona through Mexico, and there's that little skinny sea. It's called the Sea of Cortez, and the submarines it's very deep, which is advantageous. The sea is deep there, so that's where they go in. So that's one thing I know would need to be updated. And of course, it doesn't show the eastern half of the United States, which also the underground highway goes all the way from the west coast all the way to the east coast. Now there are more DUMBs and tunnels on the western half of the United States because of the soil type, the rock type, the bedrock, etc. But you better believe that it goes all the way to Washington, D.C., and many of the major metropolitan areas have entrances to that on the East Coast.
Wow. I mean, that's like a spider's web.
Yeah, and that's old. There'd be more webs, more to the web if this was totally up to date.
Absolutely. Sure. Just shows how many, I can understand you would need tunnels for certain types of things, for sure. But when you see how disgustingly they're using it, I don't know. They must just blow all of that stuff up. Seriously. Can I move on?
Yes. Okay, now they're showing underground repair of the ships, and I believe that the one on the left is a brand new ship that they're making. Now, why would they want to make ships here? And the answer is because A, no one knows about them, so they're unaccounted for. So the evil people can do whatever secret stuff they want to do, because no one even knows the ship. Like, it's not assigned to the United States Navy because then they don't even know about it. And B, you can put whatever kind of technology you want on it because you're obviously, if this is secret, you're not going to man it with the United States Navy sailors. You're going to man it with people that have ultra top secret clearances, and you know, they have nothing to do with the regular Navy.
Yeah, that was my first question is now, why would you do that without people's knowledge? And I mean, you can imagine how many of those things have been made over the years underground, right? Because usually I'm sure it must be the same there, but when we acquire a new ship or a new military plane of sorts, there's a big excitement about it. It doesn't just
Of
stay
course.
there and happen. No, man, this is just horrible,
Well,
really.
South Africa has tons of tunnels as well.
I know, so not just South Africa, Africa, I think it must
Africa
be
in general, yeah.
is probably one of the main crossroads of tunnels, I would believe. Um,
Oh yeah.
Because of obviously I can't say why. I guess everything is the same underground. But obviously they've used this. Why, actually, what is your opinion? Why would Africa have more tunnels than, say, Europe?
It's easier for them to get away with it, I will say, because the ability to most of the African nations, the ability for a wealthy outside company or individual to bribe the local government to look the other way is super easy because a lot of them are corrupt. A, B, the people can't do anything about it because none of them have, well, South Africa probably has the best military than maybe Egypt, I'm not sure. But most of them, there's no physical resistance they could put up to stop them from doing it. And then, of course, the major thing is the wealth of minerals and diamonds, etc., that exist in Africa. It's so, it boggles my mind how mineral rich many nations in Africa are, but how underdeveloped they are as a country. It just blows my mind.
It's the reason why it's underdeveloped, I'll tell you now, is because of the West, call it, coming in, obviously seeing this grocery store up for the taking. And Africa has been the West grocery store for the longest time. They'll come in here, they mine our resources. They don't even close the holes in the ground. They just fuck right off back to where they came from, leaving gaping holes in the ground all over. Kids get murdered in there. They fall down there. I mean, it's insane. The disrespect with which this continent has been treated. I have I as a white South African, I'll tell you, if I was a black African, I would probably be right up there rioting my ass off. Because it's true what you say. You see, Africa is a heart continent. Africa is the continent with heart. She will always welcome you. Her people will always welcome you. That you come to Africa and you see how the people of Africa will welcome you. They love foreigners. They love to show you their culture. They love to show you their children. The first thing an African person will say is, how is your mother? She always greets you. They will always greet you. How is your mother? Now that in itself says a lot. So unfortunately, the West is coming here with the intellectual, I'm stronger than you, and I've got more guns than you, and I've got more intelligence than you. So I'm just going to rape your country and steal your resources and underdevelop it. We take the resources out, but we do not reinvest in your country.
Right.
If anyone has what, because that's what they've done. They've raped our continent, taken all the resources out. The biggest diamond is sitting in the Queen's stupid crown. And they do not
steal that
reinvest.
from?
Well, apparently Louis Botha, one of the presidents in the 60s or something, gave it to her. It's not even his to give to her. It was not even his to give to her, right? That belongs to the people of Africa. It does not belong on some fat lizard's head. I'm sorry. my point is that the West has come here and raped this continent and left its people with nothing. Nothing. And then they come pretending, poor Africa, you need our help. We'll fly our jets in for you with truckloads of food. They take the resources and then they make Africa dependent on them. And that's why Africans have always got their hand out, because long ago have the African people believed they don't have what it takes to have an intelligent, operating, working continent.
Which is not true.
Of course it's not true. And that's why you're getting a whole lot of youngsters, and they are the firebrands. You're looking at a whole lot of, like Julius Malema, the one that's always wanting to kill the farmer. He hates the whites. He hates us.
Not cool.
Why do you think? Why do you think though? Because all they do is
programmed to.
Not even. Let's take that out of the equation. The whites come in here, rape the resources, fuck off, and leave the Africans with nothing. And then the West is led to believe that we're this poor, savage continent. That's the reality around Africa, unfortunately. And what I'm saying as well, when you look at, we were talking about Nelson Mandela earlier. Firstly, the Zulus in this country are the biggest tribe. They're not even from South Africa. They are from Ghana. The original landowners of South Africa are the Bushman people, or the Khoisan. They were hunted relentlessly by the Zulus, relentlessly. They were pushed right up into the desert areas of Namibia now. They've got nothing.
No kidding.
That's original people. And there's not even talk about their getting their land back. So then you get this Zimbabwean imposter pretending to be Nelson Mandela. He's not even a local South African. Cyril Ramaphosa is not a local South African. None of these tribes are endemically South African. The endemic people are the Bushmen or the Khoisan. And they have the understanding, we belong to the land. The land does not belong to us. Therein is exactly where the problem comes in, when you get the colonizers coming in and raping and pillaging this country for its resources, and the people do not fight violently like that. The people of Africa are heart people. But piss the heart off, and you're going to get what you get in Africa right now. Angry, violence, hatred, hate. That's where we're at. And it's because of the raping and pillaging that, and I'm not saying whites only, a long time there were black slave owners selling their black people. That also comes from Ghana. Ghana are the original black slave owners, and they sold their people.
Did not know that.
Yep, there's a lot. I mean, I'm not saying that all African leaders have done good. They've done shocking things. But there's a lot of good white people in this country as well who will not see our people because these are my people. Doesn't matter what color you are. And I will
Right.
not stand back and keep my mouth shut for nonsense that goes on and the world believes something. Meanwhile, it's on another level. Yes, there's atrocious black magic, black witchcraft and stuff that goes on here. It's horrific. I'm not going to deny that. But, it's all fear-based. So, anyway, that's my rant. Anyway, we
Well,
still have one left, I think, or two.
okay.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
I want to.
Let's.
Have I had that? Okay, we saw
Yep,
that
we
one.
hit that one. This is a general map. This is obviously it's old, okay, but this gives you an idea of the scale. So wherever you see a dot, imagine a line that connects one dot to another, and that's the DUM is the actual big man-made cavern, if you will. And sometimes they go like 5, 6, 7, up to 10 levels down. So sometimes if they do the neutron bomb or whatever they're using to make a gigantic cavern, then in that, if they have enough space, they build several levels. Okay, so there's tunnels connecting all of these dots together. There's debate that there is under ocean tunnels that go across like the North Atlantic to connect the United States to Europe. I've heard a couple people say it. I'm not 100% on that. But I also have heard that there is tunnels that go under the Mediterranean, which is obviously much shorter distance than going across the Atlantic Ocean, right? And the tunnels across the Mediterranean, I think, I've heard more good sources talk about that. But this gives you the scale of
Yeah,
how many.
it's crazy. It's like a little city with lights on. And here we have the last pick. This guy looks
Yep.
like he needs some holy water.
Yeah, he does. Well, that is a very good artist rendition of what eyewitness described that
Yeah,
lives underground.
I believe that. We've seen a lot of that sort of stuff.
Now
And
notice the pupils. Sorry. Notice the pupils, how they go vertical. You
yeah,
can see particularly on Telegram, but there are videos of people, I guess they call it glitching, but where their pupil goes from a normal human, round pupil to the slit and blinks back and forth quickly. Like when they blink, it shows the reptilian vertical slit, then they blink again, goes back to a normal circular human pupil. And if you search, if anybody in here really digs, you dig on BitChute or on Rumble or on Telegram, whatever, you can find videos of this. They call it glitching, I believe. Like
yeah.
a
I've
news
seen that.
anchor. Have you seen
Yeah,
those?
definitely, definitely. Wow, that one definitely looks as though it needs a dose of holy water. Anyway, well, Brock, I just want to. I know that we kind of got to cut it short in the next 5 minutes or so. I've got a show coming up in half an hour again. But I don't know, are there any, I want to just see if there's any questions or anything, yeah,
Sure.
while I go through this. And if there's anything else that you just want to maybe wrap up with or
No,
for
I
today.
just kind of wanted to give everybody an overview because if you haven't heard about these type of topics, or I think what Chantel and I will do, we'll pick a topic and go over it every so often, because like you said, we're in the era of disclosure, and we want Now, I know a lot more detail on many different things, some things more than others, like everyone has a specialty. But what we want to do is expose the audience to it so that they are sparked into doing more research on their own. And so we're kind of introducing the idea on a platter.
Absolutely.
Here it is, take it and run with it.
Nice one. Wow. Brock, very, very interesting. And thank you. I mean, it's so good for me, when one thinks about these dams and these underground tunnels and things, it's just one big spider web in my head. But to understand where it came from, how it began, blah, 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 that for me gives it some type of a structure, right? So we can understand how it's gone and just, I mean, I'm shocked actually, when we're looking at not just the transporting and stuff, we understand that that's been happening. But the amount, like those submarines and those ships and things being built there. So there's entire factories actually manufacturing God knows what, right?
Yes, exactly right.
Sure.
I think
Anyway,
the Turkey ones are called Cappadocia region, something like that. They said they could accommodate up to 20,000 people, so I'm looking that up right now. I forgot what the name was, and the name of them. I don't know if this is a Turkish name, but it's Derin Kuyu or Elen Gubu. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I don't speak Turkish, but that's what they're called because that's what we started out with. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. Wow. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, guys and girls. Well, Brooke, where can people get hold of you?
The best
Okay,
way is
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Rumble is where we normally upload stuff, but like I said, we have a Telegram channel where I will sometimes answer questions in there too. Chantelle has a Telegram channel, same name, Aquarius Rising Africa. Mine's called Nesara 17. I have a chat channel and a regular channel, and we also have a YouTube. We might start doing YouTube live soon. We'll see how it goes.
Well, that'll be cool. Very, very cool. I think it'll be wonderful if you do that. Awesome. Yay, guys. Thank you so much. And then I will see you in 35 minutes with Jerry Marzinski. He's actually, he's having a guest on tonight, which was just confirmed this morning. So it's not reflecting that on the promo flyer. I do believe this guy, that a gentleman called George, I think his name is, sorry, it's just come in recently, but he'll be chatting with us also in the psych wards and stuff. Now we know Jerry has worked a lot in the psych wards, and this guy was actually doing exorcisms and things there. So that should be super interesting to find out what the heck, just what the heck. Okay. Just what the heck. And here I am living my life like it's golden. And this what the heck stuff is going on. Sure. Anyway. Okay, guys, take care. I will see you in a bit. Brock, it's always a pleasure having you on. I'll see you again in a couple of weeks. What I'd like to maybe do is we're going to set down a regular time, like once a month with Brock as well, so that we at least slot that in. But watch the space, guys, and I'll let you know more. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. God bless you all. Take good care. And as always, don't be good.